All right, everybody, welcome to April. I did a little video or a little Instagram post today. It kind of, jumped at me, but this month feels exciting. And I think that's only because we've been kind of stirring and sitting in all of this unsurety. And we've really, really been leaning into change for ourselves, right? Especially with all the talk that we've had about like creating that change and actually asking for it and then having to sit and work through it, right? And that's not always easy. But it feels like this month is the time to really acknowledge all of the work that you've done and really stand up and be like, you know what? I am this person now. So that can be a little bit daunting. That can be a little bit scary. I went to an event last night and it really put a lot of things into perspective for me. I had a big aha moment where I was just like, wait a second. I've been working toward all of this stuff. And why am I holding myself back? Like, what is it that I'm so afraid of that I don't want to be known as who I want to be? And it really made me question. And so I figured that, if all of us have been really working on our goals and working on, which direction we want to be, conscious decision from last month, like all that kind of stuff, then how come, we're feeling fear or not willing or ready to step into exactly who that is that we've been working to be? So this month, I challenge you to start writing in a journal about, or just scrap paper, whatever. We'll just say journal, about, who are you now? Who are you since working through last year? Who are you since, January 1st? Who are you wanting to be? Who are you aiming to be? Who are you no longer? Right? It's what are we letting go of also is what we've been mostly focusing on. But now it's almost like April's here, it's spring. Let's step into who it is that we've been working towards. So, when I was doing that, when I was sitting with my journal this morning, I didn't actually write anything down because it felt like, what, I'm going to rewrite again who I'm supposed to be. And they just kind of said, yeah, like you are constantly rediscovering who you are. You are constantly taking a look at who am I today based on the experiences that I had yesterday. And so, if that's the case, then you could reinvent yourself every single day and lean into it and get used to that person and do it again tomorrow. Okay. So it is like no nonsense kind of energy, it feels like, that has kind of popped in. So even though you're feeling unsure, even though you're like, actually, I don't feel that I'm ready for this yet, this person who you're stepping into is just the next step. It is just the next level. And like we just said, it will change again and again. You will constantly be growing and constantly be changing, but you can acknowledge and accept who you are today, um, and decide if that's going to be good for you, right? You can decide if all of the things, all the plans that you've made, all these changes or cycles that you finished, all that kind of stuff, is this truly the direction that I want to go in? Of course, what you've ended will remain ended, but you'll be able to, pick up your socks and decide what's going to be best. So, what's an example of this? So they're saying renovating a house. Okay. You've been working toward making this house a peaceful place, and you're like, screw this house. I'm in the middle of all these renovations. I don't even want to be here anymore because this house no longer stands for who I thought I would be when I lived here. All right, then. So you've still continuing that cycle, the finishing the cycle, but maybe finishing renovating the house is now to sell it to move on to someplace different rather than um that being the peaceful place, because your peaceful place is going to be somewhere else. Or um like where you live, your location. Yeah, you figured you'd be happy where you are for forever, but now all of a sudden you're like, you know what, this place no longer holds space for me. This place is no longer a comfort. I do not feel comfortable here. I feel lonely and bored. It is time for me to sell this sanctuary that I thought I would keep forever and move on to bigger and better things, not even having a place to live. Like whoever this is for, like what they're showing me is you will basically be bouncing between place to place, like living out of a suitcase of some capacity and being perfectly happy because you don't have to keep returning to a place that you don't want to go back to anymore. All right. So, as we're leaning into all of these changes, as we're leaning into these new people that we're becoming or who we're choosing to be or who we're dipping our toes in and trying, right? There is going to be a lot of focus on understanding your connection with yourself, understanding your connection with your higher self, understanding your connection with spirit, universe, guides, like the list of these things that we can connect with. We only pick up the words that, I only pick up the words that resonate with me, but there are so many different things. It could be aliens, it could be, I don't know, tons of different things. I don't even know all the words. So don't get caught up on words when you're looking to connect with yourself. This is going to be what this month is about. And I think it's gonna shift because what the past 14, 15 months have been is getting to know this human self, getting to know who we are, what we want, um, making goals, choosing decisions, choosing directions. It's been about boundaries and understanding this human experience to the point that we realize that we could control it. We can control it, but of course, we got to continue working on if we believe that that's possible, right? We got to continue working through all of the cycles and stuff that we've started and working towards moving into where we want to go. But where we're going to start shifting is, sitting with the self and asking the self questions and creating connection with that higher power, creating connection and trust in leaning into that intuition more and understanding what trust really means when you're just like throwing your hands up in the air going, okay, I'm going to go sell my house and not live anywhere. You know what I mean? Like it is leaning into the unbelievable. And that is where I think true liveliness and true inspiration and true freedom actually lies is non-judgment of anything. We've worked on non-judgment of self. We've tried to introduce non-judgment of other people, but like non-judgment of how any situation is going to play out, that is like next level. And it feels that that is where we're leaning into. We've got lots of people who like are planning their work, they're planning their this, their that, they're the other thing. And really, it's got nothing to do with anything because we don't know what is best for us. We don't know what is in alignment. Hold on, something, let me just, I wrote something the other day. They had me channel something the other day. Okay, so what they're explaining is that out of all the experiences and all the lives that anybody has ever had on this earth, never once has an experience been duplicated. Okay. Every life, every experience maybe has been similar, but never the same. Okay. So I want you to think about how many people that is, how many, like the size of that number is astronomical. I don't even know if they have a number that big, but it is the biggest number that could ever be numbered. Right. And so if you can wrap your head around the size of that, how big that is, and then you really take a look at the fact that whenever we choose to make a decision or there's an experience that's coming or going or whatever the case, any experience that we have, we always think that there's going to be like three or four possible outcomes, right? So let's say there's a positive, there's a negative, there's a what if, and there's a, that would be completely outrageous if it happened, but it did. So we're choosing two, three, four, five potentials that our stupid little human brains can think of, right? When really the chances of anything happening, like that number of the potentials of how that experience is going to play out or how that decision will play out is just as vast as many experiences that has been had on earth. We have no idea what could potentially happen, what the weather's going to be like, what the temperature is going to be like, how the lottery is going to be won, like who even knows what. But we get so caught up on what our human brain decides for us that there's no room for trust because we kind of logic our way out of it. And so if we're leaning into the fact that, my intuition, my connection, all that kind of stuff, and it's going to, create the best opportunity for me and what I'm here to do, what I'm here to experience, then leaning in and understanding and fully trusting that you have no idea and have no judgment of how this experience is going to work out, that is where we want to be. There is there is no point in it's not even no point. I'm trying to get these words out, but like it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling of the fact that if I just leaned back and went, I'm never going to judge anything again. I'm never going to try to understand how things are going to work. I'm just going to sit here and allow it to happen around me. And I'm just going to, feel the emotions as they come up. I'm not going to judge them. I'm going to feel them and I'm going to like push them away and just allow them to kind of dissipate as I just watch this all unfold. Right. That is what the trust is supposed to be. It's supposed to be that undeniable belief that everything is going to turn out for your highest and best, even though you have no idea what that is. And that is completely unsafe. And I can totally understand how everybody's going to be like, you're nuts. What the hell are you talking about? Why are you even saying this to me right now? Because how am I supposed to just lean back and not have control of anything in my life? And that is where we all need to go. That is where we all should be aiming for. And we all should be like looking for an understanding because the best things that happen to us, the most awe-inspiring or the most jaw-dropping or the most exciting, right? Even sometimes the worst. It was something that we didn't even know was possible. It was something that we didn't even see coming. And that's because we already had our mindset on the 3 or 4 or 5 things that our human brains could actually think would happen. So, where are they going with this? It's almost like understanding that, trying to be in control of your life is like a futile response. Something out of Star Trek. You know what I mean? Don't even try because you have no idea what you're doing. You're just a little baby who has, forgotten everything that you actually know. And you'll be able to look back and, you know, see all these things later, but understanding that, I don't know, our ability to see the future does not exist. Our ability to try to control and understand it's a false belief system. And I think children kind of show us that when they are out playing or, just doing outrageous things that really don't matter. They don't pay attention to the constructs of society because they haven't been taught them yet. They don't pay attention to what is right and wrong. They just do what feels right or they do what they're being guided to do. And if we could act more like children and stop worrying so much about the what ifs and what we've been taught and what we should do and shouldn't do and all those kind of things, then maybe it'd be a little bit easier to move forward and just kind of lay back and see what happens. With my personal experience, just in the past couple of months and honestly just in the past couple of days, the the twists and turns that have kind of come out is just it's astronomical. So let me just try to figure out like, okay, so looking at Wellington, looking at that company, looking at the fact that people are coming out of the woodworks that we're doing this, doing that, doing the other thing. Um, where I thought we would be now versus where we are is one thing. And then where I thought I was going has completely changed over the past couple days, let alone couple weeks. And this is all good stuff. This is all good things, but it's just growing at a capacity. It's going to go in a direction that I didn't see. And I honestly would not have been able to see if I hadn't stopped trying to control it and stopped trying to plan it. But at the same time, what I have planned is not really like it just doesn't work anymore. So it feels like sometimes we really put that time and effort into trying to make something happen and then it doesn't. And it's like, well, obviously I failed. And it's like, no, you didn't fail. None of us are failures. When things don't work out, they don't work out for a reason. And that's why they're replaced with something else. So don't allow yourself to kind of talk yourself out of moving forward or moving in a direction that you didn't know was possible or that was going to happen because Yeah, that's just going to set you backwards. And it's not that, the actual direction that you're supposed to go in isn't going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit longer to happen. Everything that is for us will come to us. It's always supposed to be that way. It's us that gets in our own way. And I think that's one thing, if we could just sit back and take a look at, like, how do I get in my own way? And how could I potentially stop doing that without judging yourself and, calling yourself horrible names and saying you're stupid? Um, yeah, you'd be able to just kind of dig around and look, right? And that kind of goes back to that conscious decision teaching last month, where, what would happen if I just didn't make a decision about this? What would happen if I just, chose to go this way or that way? And this seems kind of counterproductive to say, because I just said, we can only think of 4 or 5 different things when there is like an astronomical amount of experiences that could come from it. But at least if you got those 4 or 5 different things out on paper, then you wouldn't be so fearful, because you'd be open to the fact that there could be more. But you'd be okay with the 4 or 5 things you could even just think about. Okay. I think I'll open up to some questions after, if anybody might have questions, but we'll just leave that there for now. Okay. Abilities are going to start showing up differently. Okay. So how can I explain this? So I've always channeled, right? It always just pops into my head. All of a sudden, I'm starting to kind of hear things. Okay. So it's almost like if I were to actually turn my brain on into channeling mode, then I can like kind of, I don't hear it with my ears, but there's noise, right? So it's like I'd be in a room full of people. And then I can just turn it off, but I can open back up and ask one person to step in and tell me, okay, what is it that needs to come through right now? Instead of just like allowing it all to flow. Okay. Right now, I'm just allowing it to flow because that's my natural state. It happens very quickly because I'm used to doing it, but they are showing me that things are going to change, that I have a little bit more control, that I've been taking the time to learn myself. I've been taking the time to learn my abilities. I've been taking the time to open myself up little bits at a time in order to receive, the guidance that something could be different. Okay. You're going to start noticing the same thing. You're going to start noticing that you're drawn to asking questions that you never really thought of before. You are thinking about things or thinking about topics that you're like, where did this come from? You are potentially hearing different things or experiencing different things that you never did before. Okay. The energies shifted over the past month. Okay. So it shifted when we came from December into January, and then it shifted when February turned into March, and then during the eclipses and stuff like that, like around the 12th, I'm not going to get to dates, but in between the beginning of March and the end of March, it all shifted again. And it's almost like everybody's just been bumped up a level, especially with that eclipse season. I mean, that flattened a lot of people, that lunar eclipse, and it did so for a reason, because everybody just kind of, it's like you dropped into your body, but also elevated your spirit at the same time. So why are they telling us this? They're telling us this because the different thoughts, the different things that are coming into your head, the different ideas, you need to really lean into and understand that that is not you. Okay. So if all of a sudden you're walking down the street and you're like, whoa, I'm actually quite interested in numerology. I'm curious about what the number 9 means and why it means something and how that connects to 1 and what's my birthday and, what is my life path number and all of these different things. That idea is planted in there. It's put in there. So then you can go start discovering that and you can start learning about something. Okay. And then, of course, that learning is going to guide you into a different direction. So when we understand that, this thought comes into our head, not to judge it, just to be like, actually, what does this mean? And to listen to it, that is huge. If you can start listening to the ideas and the thought patterns that are coming to your head, like, you will just leaps and bounds start growing in whatever direction you're supposed to go in, because that is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to silence and quiet and just wait. Just be patient. And we're constantly so bombarded and keeping ourselves busy with work and responsibilities and TV and our phones and I don't know, blah, 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 all of the things that when this idea pops into our head, we never stop for even 5 seconds. You just like, oh, glance by, poof, done. And then you're like, what was that thing I thought about? And then it's gone. Okay. So if you could even take a few minutes here and there, I mean, if an idea pops into your head, type it into a text message to yourself or send yourself an email if you're out and about. If you can't stop, or, just take the time to write it down scratch it out on a piece of paper so you can go back to it later. It doesn't have to be done at that moment, but just taking the time to acknowledge that it happened, it'll kind of settle in there. Okay. So that is what's going to, and that is how they're going to start showing up, what's going to start putting you in the direction of, I guess, let's just say these new abilities. Okay. These new interests. It's kind of like starting the new path. We've talked about how a lot of people's cycles and different things are going to start ending in March, and some may continue to end in November. And even though yours may not be completely finished until closer to the end of the year, that doesn't mean that they're not going to start dropping little things in, because if you're doing the work and you're really paying attention to who you want to be, then it's almost like they're going to allow it to overlap. So then that way you can start growing and changing as you're finishing things out. And then as this completely drops out, then eventually you'll be ready. You'll just be like, boom, new cycle. I'm already 6 months in. Like, I am awesome. Right? All right. So, new abilities. Start asking for guidance. Start understanding that even though you can't hear what they're saying, if you don't know how to channel yet, if you don't know how to connect yet, you can still ask for guidance and support. Okay. Understanding that, let's just say you're starting to hear things and you're like, what does this mean? I don't even know what it means. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. None of this stuff. Then ask them to start showing you clarification. Ask them to start showing you where to go to start figuring this out. Okay. Ask them to start dropping those ideas in your head so you know where to go, where to start, where to end, where to anything. Okay. Especially if you're feeling it, if you start to feel things within your body, focus on grounding, focus on understanding what it is to be solid and protected. Okay. Because when these things happen, it's almost like it can throw us off in such a way that, like, we want to jump out of our bodies. We don't want to ground within a place that we don't understand. We don't want to ground within somewhere that feels unsafe. But when you start asking for the guidance, asking for the strength, asking for the understanding, you know what I mean? Asking for the knowledge, or however you want to put it, then it'll start to come. It'll start to come even if you don't understand where it's going to come from. Okay. Start asking and talking to people too. You can, of course, ask me. I'm always here. But at the same time, like, I don't know, start talking with each other. Start talking to friends and being like, look, I think I'm going crazy, but this is starting to happen. Have you noticed anything different about your life? Have you noticed anything different about your experiences? Do you have weird ideas popping into your head? Who knows? Like, start getting open and honest, because all of these things that we talk about, it feels crazy because not everybody believes it, not everybody knows it, but there is going to be a time where this is going to be normal. This is going to be there has been a time where this was already normal. And it's almost like we're doing more remembering than learning. And so if we can start looking at it from that perspective, where we're remembering where we've come from, we're remembering where we're going, then, it's not such a daunting task, because yeah, we already technically know. We're already connected to all of the answers. They're just only going to funnel us what we're supposed to have based on what we decided we wanted, right? I think that's the cruel joke. It's just almost like we're the ones who chose that this is the path we're going to take. And so if we want to get frustrated at anybody, we can get frustrated at ourselves. You know what I mean? So where are they going? They were saying, asking questions, talking. So I do want to mention, and I'll send a little something out, that I want to get a chat group going. I was thinking doing something on an app where that way we can start building community and start asking the questions, where it's more of a cohesive area where everybody has access to each other throughout the month. I know that the community that we had on Light wasn't that great. I did try the Facebook page, but that's not ideal either. So I'll work in the next couple days to get that going. So then that way we can start talking to each other and start building that community that I think all of us want, where if we don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff, then we can find someone, we can find it within ourselves, right? So I will send out more information about that. Okay, let's just see. Saying ritual is going to play a big part in being able to lean into things. So it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Honestly, if your ritual is to get up in the morning and make yourself a tea and grab your journal, and that's when you spend some time, then that's a ritual. You know what I mean? Like, don't overcomplicate it. Just learn what you like and then just start doing that. If there's not enough time in the morning and you don't feel like you can get up earlier, then maybe you just get yourself like ready a little bit faster and allow yourself to sit in your car for a few minutes before work. Or maybe you take your time out on your lunch break and actually go somewhere, right? Go outside or go sit in your car. Um, Creating ritual, following ritual, and giving yourself time to sit with yourself each day is going to be the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself. And that's not just to like create practice. That's not to it's not to elevate, it's not to anything. It's really just to be like, okay, I'm here, I'm learning myself, I'm trying to get to know myself, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to shift, I'm trying to do all these things, but I never spend any time with myself with who I am now. And that is kind of, it makes me feel sad when I think about it. When I say that, it's just like I'm judging and working so hard not to be me that I don't even pay attention to or spend any time with who I've become based on, how I've changed or how I've grown. I think you might actually really like yourself if you stopped. You know what I mean? We get in um, this perpetual cycle of always try to do better and always trying to level up, but we never actually celebrate the wins when we have leveled up and we've actually made it, right? So if you can try to make a pact with yourself, try to make a goal, try to just spend a few minutes with yourself only for you, right? Without trying to change or grow or do anything. I think you'll find a lot of benefit in it. Um, a lot of us, the only time that that happens is in the off chance that you get a quiet time or the stars all align and something neat happens. But yeah, we can create that. We can create that for ourselves, especially now that it's getting lighter in the morning. It's easier to get up, so it's not so bad. All right, I think I'm going to open it up to any questions. So I've lost everybody here. Here, just give me a sec. Okay, so if anybody's got a question, you can pop it in the chat. And I'm just gonna keep talking while we wait for that. Numbers and colors are gonna play a big part in the next little while also. So if there's a color that makes you feel good, try to wear it. If there's a color that makes you feel a certain way or makes you feel confident or something like that, like lean into how you're feeling that day. Ask yourself, what kind of color do I need to be wearing today in order to match my vibration? Okay. And so matching sounds kind of funny. You could either wear it to match it, as in to maintain it, or you could wear a color to match it to elevate it, right? We're never going to want to wear something that's going to make us feel less than what we already are. So if you're feeling calm that day, maybe you wear a nice blue color like this. If you're feeling vibrant and you're feeling happy, then choose like an orange or a yellow or something that's, not normal that you would normally wear. But if you're feeling like you're a little bit low, but you'd like to feel more vibrant, maybe you can put on something in between. Okay. So leaning into that, it's color is a language. Color is everything. And I don't think a lot of people pay enough attention to it. I mean, we are all made of light, and light is made of all the colors, and we are everything. So yeah, if you can start playing on that with yourself, then I think that's gonna really help with getting to know, that connection, those guides, whatever we want to call them, the higher self. Yeah, just see what they say, and that's a good way to start, right? Okay, guides, what should I wear today? And pick the first color that comes into your mind, and just see. Don't judge it. Even if you're like, ugh, that color, I hate this shirt, not my favorite, wear it anyway. Just see what happens. It's playing with those things, because when we listen rather than judge, it's amazing what happens. It's just like when, you're cutting vegetables. This is prime example. You're cutting vegetables in your head. You're like, I'm going to cut myself. And you keep cutting the vegetables and then slice. You're like, damn it. I knew it. I knew I should have moved my hand. I knew I should have done something. And, we catch ourselves and we're like, actually, my intuition tells me not to do that. But never do we say, well, my intuition told me to, right? So I did it and I ran with it and I went through with it. So yeah, start leaning in and trying to listen to the intuition to do something positive for yourself rather than to do something not negative for yourself. All right, I think that's it for the month of April. That's it for the channeling. So please do send me any questions you have if you're not here. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you through the rest of the month. Thank you for joining me.